A very warm welcome to this lesson in our series on the introduction to the Constitution of India. In today's lesson, we will have a look at how the Constitution of India is organized. As we discussed earlier, the Constitution of India is one of the longest written constitutions of the world. Perhaps it is the second largest constitution after that of Alabama. Therefore, when you have a constitution that is this long, it definitely requires to be organized. So when we talk about legislations in general, then all of them are divided according to a scheme, and that scheme generally consists of parts, chapters, schedules, articles, or sections. So it's not necessary that you would find all of these in a legislation, but perhaps you'd find a few of these across all legislations. For example, if you talk about the Indian Penal Code, then the Indian Penal Code is divided into sections. You'll also find chapters, but you don't really find parts in the Indian Penal Code. The Constitution of India is divided into parts, chapters, schedules, and articles. It is important for you to remember that the Constitution of India does not talk about sections, right? Instead, it talks about articles. It is divided into articles. Now let me contrast this with some of the other common legislations. For example, the Indian Penal Code or the Indian Partnership Act or maybe the Indian Contract Act. Now most of these legislations are divided into sections and not into articles. However, the Constitution of India is divided into articles. So what were the number of provisions in the Constitution at the time of its enactment? Well, before that I need to ask you, what was the time of enactment of the Constitution? We learned that in the previous lesson, that is the 26th of November 1949. So this is when the Constitution was enacted and adopted, right? So as of the 26th of November 1949, it consisted of 22 parts, 8 schedules and 395 articles. However, if we look at the Constitution today, then the Constitution is significantly larger. It consists of 25 parts as opposed to 22 parts that we saw as of the 26th of November 1949. You have 12 schedules, which previously were 8, and now you have around 470 articles, which previously was 395. As you're aware, the Constitution has been amended several times, and as a result of these amendments there have been some insertions, because of which some provisions have been inserted into the act, and therefore the number of parts, schedules and articles has increased. So now, as students of constitutional law, we will now memorize all of the parts, schedules and articles, all of the 470 articles in the Constitution right now. Well, actually not. A student of the Constitution does not require to memorize all the articles. What is more important is that he should be able to find the right article when he requires to do it. It is important for you to know that lawyers don't necessarily know the law, right? But what they do know is that they know where to find the law. So we will learn how to find what we need to in the Constitution of India in today's lesson. So now I will be scrolling through the Constitution of India. This is the version that you find on the website of the government. As you can see, this is a relatively recent version of the Constitution of India, 2019. So let's scroll down and let's have a look at the Constitution. So I'm scrolling down and I will bring you to the contents page where you will see all of the contents. So as you can see, we are into the contents. You can see in the very beginning that there is a preamble. Here you can see the preamble. That is not in any part, and then you see part 1. And then you can also see that there are articles, right? So all of these things that you see here are the articles. Then we also saw that we've been going from part 1, part 2, part 3, this is part 4. So we've been seeing the various parts and the articles as well. So you can see, for example, that part 4 is directive principles of state policy. Part 4A is fundamental duties. Now, here's something new. Here you can see chapter. So there's a part and there is a chapter. So you see chapter 1, then you go ahead and here you can see chapter 2. I scroll down further, you can see chapter 3 as well. As you can see chapter 3 and chapter 4. You can also see chapter number 5. Right? And now we look at the next part. As you can see, the next part is part 6. Let me just scroll back. Here you can see part 6. And that again starts with chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. So it's important for you to know that the chapters start from 1 once again as soon as you switch from one part to the next part. So when you go from one part to the other, the chapters again start from the beginning. So now I'm scrolling down. For example, now we are part 17. Scrolling down even further, you can see that we are getting to the end of the Constitution. Well, the parts of the Constitution. And now, once the parts are over, you can see this thing called the schedules, right? And so if you look at the schedules, you have the first, second, third, fourth, and this goes up to the 12th schedule, as you can see here. Okay. So whenever you want to see anything in the Constitution, you now know where to find it. If you scroll through the contents, you can look at the title of either the article itself, because each article, as you've seen, has a short title which will tell you as to what is contained in it. Likewise, you can also see what is given as the title of that part. You can also see as to what that schedule deals with. Therefore, if any particular part of the Constitution interests you, you can navigate to that point and see what you need to. So all of us are fairly conversant with what parts and articles are. So we all know this. For example, let's say we look at Article 14. So we know that Article 14 deals with the right to equality, and that's contained in Part 3, which deals with fundamental rights. Okay, so like this we have all of the parts and the articles of the Constitution. Now after these parts and articles, we see the schedules. So what are these schedules? Well, these schedules basically tabulate and categorize some data. And what kind of data is this? This is the data relating to bureaucratic activity and government policy. And these are details that you find often in the parts and the articles themselves. They correspond to what you find in the articles, right? Which basically means that these are not unrelated. Okay, let me give you an example. For example, we saw that official languages are mentioned in part 17, but you also find that the official languages have to be listed. So you tabulate it and you find that in the 8th schedule. So the official languages, you have some provisions relating to that in the part where you will find some articles. Now related to that, you need to tabulate and categorize these official languages, and that is found in the schedule. So now that we are fairly well versed with the Constitution of India, I would like to conclude this lesson by asking you a question. So here's the question. So we'd studied that the Constitution of India today has 470 articles, approximately over 25 parts. And we also saw quite a recent version of the Constitution of India, April 2019. However, there is something that I want you to see. The last part before the schedules begin is part 22. The last article is Article 395 and not Article 470. Likewise, this is not Article 25. In fact, if you recollect, we had seen 22 parts and 395 articles in the original form of the Constitution as of November 1949. So now my question to you is, how do you resolve this? Where are the other parts and where are the other articles? Is this PDF wrong? Is this document that I just showed you wrong? or is there some other solution to this question? Let me know in the comment section. I hope this lesson was of use to you. Thank you so much for your patience. Good day.